Hey guys, thanks for checking in with STOP. Today, we're going to be talking about some slimy, stocky, strange-looking creatures. Not me, frogs. Some frog species are the most endangered amphibians in Australia. Frog populations are declining around the world due to things like habitat loss and disease. Why do we care? Well, without frogs eating things like bugs, grubs, crops would suffer. And are you gonna go take up that mantle and start eating all those? Frogs are brilliant. They've even adapted to living in dry areas by burrowing underground and making a cocoon out of their dead skin layers. But climate change is happening too fast and on too large a scale for even their creative little minds to adapt to. Frogs can help control the population of disease-carrying mosquitoes. This is important because climate change is fueling things like floods, heat waves, extreme storms, and mosquitoes love this kind of weather. Now that was a little bit intense, I know, so I'll give you a lighter note. Did you know that frogs use their eyeballs to help them eat? Which is cool and freaky. So I'm a chat to Dr. Jodi Rowley, who specializes in frogs. Hi, Jodi. So I'm guessing you run like a frog hospital, right?
I'm interested in all aspects of frogs, not so much medical, but sometimes I do dive into the world of frog diseases. That's something that impacts frogs quite a bit, but generally it's what amazing frogs do we have out there, how they're doing, and what can we do to help them.
You use frogs as an indicator of like climate change and the climate health. And why is that?
Frogs are so tied to the environment. They're really attuned to temperature and rainfall. By monitoring changes, for example, in the breeding season of frogs over time, we can get a picture of how frogs and the environment in general is responding. No other animal steps up to fill the role of frogs. They connect our freshwater and our terrestrial ecosystems. They're a vital part of energy flows, nutrient dynamics, food webs, and we really need them around.
A frog's the kind of thing you might even find in your backyard.
So in Australia, they're pretty much everywhere. They're from our rainforests to the outback to the deserts. They're in your backyard. I could not hear any frogs around here when I moved in. I built a small pond. Within 6 months, I had 3 different species of frog calling from my pond. You build it and they will come. They're a really important part of suburban ecology.
If someone was to say to you, oh, well, frogs can evolve, so why are we worrying about their future? How would you respond to that?
Definitely frogs can evolve, but they do it over like really long evolutionary time scales. So what we're dealing with now is not long-term at all. For frogs, it's climate change and these really extreme weather events, and we just honestly don't know what impact that's going to have. I do have hope. For sure, that's not a question, but we are hitting our biodiversity and our frogs with more things than they've ever had to experience in quite a short time frame. In the space that I've been working on, the FrogID project, which is less than 6 years, we've had droughts, we've had fires, we've had floods. Frogs surprise me because they're still there, but they need our help.
How much do things like herbicides, pesticides, do they factor into it as well?
Frogs actually don't drink with their mouths. They actually suck it in through their belly, and they have something called a drink patch on their belly. So if there's any chemicals anywhere, they essentially get sucked straight in. And frogs are very sensitive.
For the average person, what can I do to make frogs' lives easier?
Starting with something tangible. So if you've got a backyard that you can build a frog pond in, then that would be awesome. You can find out what local frogs you have. If you don't have enough space to be able to build a frog pond, you can actually build things like tree frog hotels. Even if you've got a balcony in an apartment, you can just get some PVC pipes, put them in a bucket and maybe put some plants around, and then partake in citizen science projects. Things like iNaturalist, which relies largely on photographs, or the FrogID project that I'm the lead scientist of. Frog species are yelling out what species they are. All you do, press record for 20 to 60 seconds whenever you hear a frog, and then myself or one of the team identify the frog or frog species that are calling, and then it forms part of this national database. We've
talked a lot about what we can do and active steps we can take, but what is there that we shouldn't do?
We shouldn't let our cats out at night, so definitely keeping indoor cats and dogs if they're going to go for anything outside. Don't be spraying chemicals as much as possible. Keep all that kind of stuff out of your backyard, out of waterways.
Jodi, thank you so much for talking to me and sharing your love of frogs. Honestly, just the love and passion you have is so contagious.
Thank you so much for having me.
After all that, what are we doing? You could try building a frog hotel in your backyard in a nice, shady, moist area. If you don't have a backyard, you could do one at school or make one for a friend. And of course, I want to see what you do. So if you have any pictures, videos, or even audio recordings of some nice frog calls, make sure to let me know. You can tag us at STOP2030 or even use the hashtag Frogtopia.